the cracks in the glass. Emily Ross had always been good at pretending. From the outside, she and Daniel were the kind of couple that people envied, married 8 years. Owners of a cozy 2-story house in suburban Ohio, with matching coffee mugs and matching smiles for the neighbors. Inside, however, their love had been fading like a photograph left in the sun. Daniel's job at the architecture firm kept him late most nights. He'd come home exhausted, distracted, and quick to reach for his phone instead of her. She told herself it was normal marriages went through lulls. Still, every night she sat at the kitchen table with a glass of wine, staring at the clock and wondering if he noticed the distance between them. That was when Mark appeared. Mark Bennett had been Daniel's best friend since college, charming, tall, and quick with a joke that could draw a reluctant smile from Emily even on her worst days. He'd always been part of their lives, but lately, he seemed to notice her in ways Daniel didn't. The way his eyes lingered an extra second. The way he asked about her day and actually listened. One rainy Friday night, Mark stopped by with takeout because Daniel was still at work. Emily should have told him no. She should have said she wasn't up for company. Instead, she let him in. And she didn't lock the door to her heart. Chapter 2, The First Spark. They ate Chinese food straight from the cartons, sitting on the floor in front of the fireplace. The rain battered the windows, a steady rhythm against the glass. "You've been quiet lately," Mark said, leaning back against the couch. "Something wrong?" Emily hesitated. She'd never admitted it to anyone, but the words slipped out. "Daniel and we're not talking much these days." Mark's gaze softened. "He's lucky to have you, you know that?" She laughed, a bitter edge to the sound. "Doesn't feel that way." They sat in silence for a while, the fire crackling between them. She noticed the warmth in his eyes, the way his voice lowered when he asked another question. And then, there it was, his hand brushed hers as he passed the soy sauce. Just a touch, but her skin tingled long after. Chapter 3, Crossing the Line. The second time they were alone was not an accident. Daniel was away on a weekend business trip, and Mark offered to help her fix a leaky kitchen faucet. She wore an oversized sweater and leggings, trying not to care how she looked. But she noticed how his eyes followed her movements, how close he stood when handing her a wrench. When the job was done, they lingered in the kitchen, talking about nothing and everything. And then he stepped closer, just enough for her breath to catch. "You ever think about what it would be like if things were different?" he asked. Emily's heart pounded. She didn't answer, but she didn't step away either. The kiss was inevitable. It started tentative, then deepened, heat sparking between them. She knew she should stop, knew this was wrong. But when his hand cupped her face, the loneliness she'd carried for months dissolved into something she couldn't resist. Chapter 4, The Unraveling. It became a dangerous habit. Text messages late at night, quick coffee catch-ups that lasted too long, excuses to be near each other. Emily told herself it was just a phase, that she could end it before it went too far. But every time she looked into Mark's eyes, she saw someone who saw her, really saw her, in a way Daniel hadn't in months. Daniel, meanwhile, began noticing small changes. The way she smiled at her phone, the way she seemed distracted at dinner. He didn't say anything at first, but his silences grew heavier. Chapter 5, The Confrontation. It happened on another rainy night. Daniel came home earlier than usual and found her sitting on the couch, phone in hand. "Who's making you smile like that?" he asked, his voice calm but tight. Her stomach dropped. "Just a friend." "A friend named Mark?" His voice cracked on the name. The air between them froze. She couldn't lie, not anymore. "Daniel, I'm sorry." The conversation spiraled. Accusations, anger, the sound of rain against the windows drowning out her sobs. He asked the questions she feared most. How long? Why him? Was I not enough? She had no answers that could fix the damage. Chapter 6, The Fallout. Mark wanted her to leave Daniel. He told her they could start fresh, away from the mess they'd made. But Emily couldn't bring herself to walk out. Not yet. Daniel moved into the guest room. They spoke only when necessary. Nights felt colder, mornings heavier. One afternoon, she went to Mark's apartment, looking for comfort, but the weight of what they'd done hit her harder than ever. She saw the truth in his eyes. They had built their connection on betrayal. And betrayal was a shaky foundation for love. Chapter 7. When the rain finally stopped. Weeks later, the rain stopped. Spring sunlight filled the neighborhood, but Emily felt no warmth. Daniel filed for divorce quietly, without a scene. He didn't fight, didn't yell, he simply let go. Mark tried to stay in her life, but she ended it. Without the secrecy, without the stolen moments, whatever they'd shared lost its fire. Emily stayed in the house alone for a while, drinking coffee in the mornings by the kitchen window, listening to the absence of rain. She thought about Daniel every day, his laugh, his patience, the life they'd built, and she knew she'd thrown it all away for something that vanished the moment the storm cleared. She'd traded a marriage for a memory, and some trades can never be undone.